Hi friends, myself Rakesh. If you are the one who is planning for Microsoft certified Azure fundamentals, the very first thing you should know the roadmap. Where is the portal from where you can start learning Azure fundamentals? How do you schedule your exams? What are the topics? How much percentage of questions which come from which topic? That entire roadmap we should first understand before starting to learn each topic one by one. The very first thing, let's go to learn.microsoft.com. Once you go to this particular page, here on the top, you have certain options, discover, product documentation, and all of this. Click on discover. And here you have something called credentials. Click on credentials. Scroll down. And here you find something called Microsoft certifications. Go and click on browse certifications. And here on the left side, you have something called Azure. Select this. And then to filter it more, click on administrator. Then you see all the different certifications related to Azure Administrator would appear. And here on my right, you have Microsoft Certified Azure Fundamentals. Click on this particular card. I'm going to click on this. Then you would be able to see Microsoft Certified Azure Fundamentals page. Now remember, this exam is a beginner level exam. Now let's scroll down. These three sections you look at: prepare for the exam, practice for the exam, and take the exam. Now let's focus on the prepare for the exam. For this, simply click on this link. The moment you click on the link, it will take you and show you what are the topics that you should be prepared. The first topic is describe cloud concepts. Next topic is describe Azure architecture and services. And the third topic is Azure management and governance. So these are the three important topics on which you will get your questions in the exam. This exam, in short, is also known as AZ-900, or you can call it AZ-900, whatever it is. So AZ-900 is a common name for the Microsoft Azure fundamentals. Now let's understand from these three topics that you have seen in this page, describe cloud concepts. Now describe cloud concepts, you will get somewhere around 25 to 30% of your questions would be from this, the very first topic. The second topic, describe Azure architecture and services. This would have highest number of questions. Do you see 40%, around 35 to 40%. So this topic is a very important topic for your exam. 35 to 40% of your exam questions would be from this topic alone. Now the third topic, describe Azure management and governance. Now from this, 30 to 35%. So this table is an important table. You know which topic to focus more. You know from which topic maximum questions are going to come. So the 40% one, this is the maximum. The second is this one. Third is this one. However, your preparation has to happen on all of these topics. You cannot skip any of the topics because they are interrelated. You need to understand one another to answer the other one. That's why your preparation has to happen on all the three topics. So once you are prepared for the exam, the next thing is practice for the exam. So if you click on this particular link, practice for the exam, this will take you to this page. So assess your knowledge, take the practice assessment. From here, you can launch the practice assessment. The next very important thing is taking the exam. So click on this take the exam, and here you would find details about your exam. You will have 45 minutes to complete the assessment. Okay, so all of these things you can go through it. The important part is also cost. So the cost is 99 USD. In case you would like to see for your own country, what is the cost? For example, here I'm selecting India. So it is somewhere around 3691 INR. And all you have to do is simply click on schedule exam and go through the set of questions that the page would ask for, like first name, last name, your details. So basically this is what your end-to-end process: prepare, practice and schedule your exam. Now let's see what you are going to truly study. The first topic is describe cloud concepts. If you go inside this topic, this has got three important modules: describe cloud computing, benefits of using cloud services, and cloud service types. Okay, so these are the three modules in the first one. Now each module has a topic. For example, cloud computing, describe cloud computing, has following topics. And then if you look at benefit of using cloud services, this has got following topics. And then if you look at describe the cloud service types, this has got following topics. So right now the image should be clear. When you target the very first module, there are three modules inside them, and that has got individual topics. Similar way, Azure architecture and services. If I go here, even this has got similar steps. For example, this is one module, a core architectural component of Azure, and then you have Azure compute and networking services, and then you have Azure storage services, identity access security. So this has got four modules and topics inside them. Okay. Similar way, if I go back to the third one, the third topic, describe Azure management and governance. If I click on this, you would see this also has got a couple of modules. One is describe cost management, features and tools in Azure governance and compliance, managing and deploying Azure resources, monitoring and tools. So this has got another 1, 2, 3, 4 modules. So by now you are very clear what exactly you are going to study in out of this three topics, the important three topics of Azure fundamentals. Now let's understand what is Microsoft Azure. Let's get some introduction. So if somebody asks you what is Microsoft Azure, the answer is it is a cloud computing platform. Now what is cloud computing platform? For the very first time when I heard this word cloud, the image that will form in your mind, you think of a cloud. It's nothing related to that. The cloud term itself has a different meaning, which you will get clarity slowly. Right now, computing platform, you understand. Computing means it talks about computer. A simple word, right? Computing. And when it talks about computer, there are so many things that comes into your mind. One is your CPU, one it comes RAM, then your networking, storage, your hard drive, all this. When you think of a computer, all these things would come. Now, cloud computing platform is a important word to understand. We will understand it as we go. At the moment, let's understand what are the core services provided by Microsoft. So the services means, let's say, the products. What are the core products that I can get from Microsoft Azure, or core services that I can get from Microsoft Azure are compute. For example, I need some virtual machines that I can get it from Azure. I need some storage related solutions. I can get it from Azure. For example, I need a SQL database. I can get it. I need some networking related solutions, load balancer, virtual network, and XYZ. I can get it. I need something related to AI. I can get it from Microsoft Azure. I need some services related to Internet of Things. I can get it. So there are many more services actually offered by Microsoft Azure. So what is cloud computing? So cloud computing means delivery of computing services over the internet. What is it? Delivery of computing services over the internet. Now what is computing services? For example, it includes all different common IT services. Like, let's say I need a virtual machine. I need some storage solutions. I need a SQL database, Azure SQL database. I need some virtual network VNet solutions, right? Load balancer I need. So all of this which is delivered through internet. Delivery of computing services over the internet is known as cloud computing platform. This does not restrict itself into this four categories. As I said, there are ample of services. They have also started giving services related to machine learning, Internet of Things, AI, and there are many things actually as part of the IT services. Let me give you an example. For example, you are buying a physical computer and you are accessing a virtual machine. So what is the difference? Your physical computer, which is with you, it's physically available. You can access it physically. But a virtual machine, it is accessible over the internet. You need internet to access a virtual machine. Now, many of us might have already worked on virtual machines. So you open your laptop, you have internet, and you are connecting to a client virtual machine to do client related activities. So the virtual machine is an example of a cloud computing. So the machine is actually located somewhere, not even in your country, maybe in outside of your country, somewhere it is available, and you are, without knowing where it is physically present, you are accessing it with the help of internet. So this is one example of a cloud computing service. To help you better understand cloud computing and its importance, let me take a very generic example. Imagine you are doing a business related to tours and travels. Now, for this business to grow in your market, you thought you definitely need a website for your company. Without having a website, it is not possible for you to run the business and to grow. So you decided, I need to have a website. Now, to have a website, to run a website, you need couple of basic core components. One is you need a server. You need a database where your data, customer data, who booked the travel, at what date, all this information to store. You need a database. You need good network so that if many users come to your website is able to handle them, right? At a time, if there are thousands of people have logged into your website, your website should be able to handle it. So you decided, okay, now for all of this, I need to have minimum of 3 servers to start with. How many servers? You decided I should have minimum 3 servers. Why? Because during this October to December, generally the volume of travelers goes high. Or there are certain months in the year where the volume of the customers are very high in the tours and travel. And that's why I need to manage that volume. I need to minimum maintain 3 servers so that while they are booking in the website should not fail or should not take a lot of time to load. So I need to have minimum 3 servers. Now that's not about it. It's not just about 3 servers. Look at it. Now to maintain these 3 servers, you also need to have a power backup. Why? Let's say the power supply is gone for some time. Now the website will be down if your servers are not running. You need to have a continuous power backup. If something goes wrong, there is a backup always provided to the server. So the servers are running and your website is up and running. So you need a power backup. It's not closes there. You also need a cooling system. If you do not have a good cooling system, even your servers won't work. You need to also maintain a good cooling system. That's not about it. You also need a physical office space to keep this server secure so that nobody simply enters and does something and all of a sudden your entire website is down. Now imagine there are so many things comes behind the scene to manage, maintain these servers. You need some engineers also. You need some networking engineer. You need some, infrastructure engineers to maintain this. You need some security personals, right, to ensure the access is given to the right person. You need some cameras. You need a lot of things actually just for one thing, that is a website to host. Very generic example I gave you. so that you can imagine it is not just the website, you have to have lot many things to ensure your website is running. And the space where all of these things are maintained, your power backup, your AC, your servers, where your servers are there, right? That particular space is called data center. What it is called? It is called data center, where you have your servers. Some of you might have seen this in your company. There are black boxes and there are so many lights blinking all the time. So these are nothing but servers. You can also Google it just to see how a physical server looks like. So you have to maintain three servers. You have to do lot many activities to ensure the servers are always up and running. If one of the servers goes down, there are other two servers also running. So all these things have to be designed to ensure your website is running. Now imagine you as a business owner. One thing, you have to have a team to take control and maintain them. And for each of this maintenance activity, you have to spend a lot. So that means you are spending a lot of cost. Second part, let's say only during December I need 3 servers. But imagine, I'll take some vague example which may not be right. Just imagine from March, April, May, June, July. These are the 3 to 5 months where I see I don't literally need 3 servers. I can manage by using only 2 servers. In that case, what is happening? Because you have already purchased the server, you cannot sell it off. Just for 5 months, you cannot sell it off. You have to keep it, you have to maintain it. So when you don't need it, you still have to use it because you have already purchased it. You already got a space. You already got few people to manage it. So that means when the demand goes up and down, you don't have an ability to switch. You can stop them, but you cannot but you are paying the money for it. You have already purchased it. You already have invested your capital amount, right? You have put some capital to buy this. So you can imagine when you have to manage your own company with a data center. All of these are called data center, where you have your physical servers, your networking, your databases, a lot of things. You put a lot of cost to buy them and to manage and maintain them. You saw some of the challenges that I have with the servers that I was managing on premise or in my office. I had a data center where I had all these challenges. Now, if I would have used a cloud computing, what is the benefit? Let's say I am running through a normal month. Now, every server would use these computing components like CPU, RAM, hard drive, network cards, and all these things. Behind this is your hardware components which works. Now imagine my servers in a normal month. It requires only one CPU and one RAM. But when the peak season comes, because more customers are using my website, I require, imagine, these are all imaginary numbers. Let's say I need 2 CPUs and 2 RAMs. I have to double up. And once the peak season goes, again I have to be back with 1 CPU, 1 RAM. Now, this is slightly not impossible with the on-premise setup because let's say I have already purchased 2 RAMs, 2 CPUs. Now, even in a normal month, I would say anyways, I have already paid for it. Let it be there and let it run. Correct? So I use a capital amount to buy these hardwares. But with cloud computing, the benefit is the moment I need it, I use it and I pay for that. If I don't want it, I remove it and I don't pay for that additional things. So here if you see in the normal months, I'll just pay for 1 CPU, 1 RAM. And for peak seasons, I will pay for 2 CPUs and 2 RAMs. When the peak season is over, I can again go to the portal and remove the extra CPU, extra RAM and back to normal and I'll pay the normal amount. So you can always scale up or scale down based on your business demand with the help of cloud computing. So far, you got a bit of understanding around how the cloud computing benefits. Now, let's understand something called shared responsibility model. The cloud providers like Microsoft, they work with a shared responsibility model. What is that? I'll show you. Let's imagine you have a corporate data center in your own office. So that is generally called on-premise. So you have an on-premise data center. Now the company is responsible for everything. For example, maintaining the physical space, its security, maintaining all data that goes inside your server inside your, right? So maintaining all the data center hardwares, power, cooling, network, data and information access, who has access to the data. So end to end, you have to manage everything. That means the company is responsible for end to end. With an on-premise data center, you are responsible for everything. However, when you go with cloud computing provider, what happens? The responsibilities are shared between the cloud computing provider such as Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft and the consumer, whoever is taking that service. For example, cloud provider will be responsible for physical security, power, cooling, and network connectivity are the responsibility of the cloud provider. Just an example. There are many things, but as an example, this would be a responsibility of a cloud provider. Now, consumer. The consumer is responsible for what? For the data that it's going into the server and the information stored in the cloud. Whom to grant access to data, right? Whom to grant, who should have access to the applications. So all of these are managed by the consumer. So now your responsibility, some of your responsibility is taken and given to the cloud because for his service we are paying him and he is responsible to ensure it is maintained. So the half of your responsibility, most of your responsibility goes to the cloud provider and some of the responsibility remains with you. Now I am on the Microsoft learning page. If you look at, these are the color schemes. For example, this color is donated for the customer, this one is for Microsoft, and this one is for shared. Now when you have a on-prem data center, you are responsible for everything. So there are categories. For example, responsibility always retained by the customer. Responsibility varies by type. Responsibility transferred to cloud provider. So for example, physical host, physical network, physical data center, you are responsible as a consumer. As an on-prem, you are responsible for everything. I'll go one by one just to help you understand. Information and data, you are responsible. Which device the application can be accessed? Can it be accessed on a mobile or can it be accessed only on a PC or both of it? So that also you define. You as an on-prem data center, you design it, you define it. Accounts and identities, right? Where to maintain, manage accounts. And for example, somebody would have edit access, somebody would have only read access, only view access. So all this you manage it as a consumer. Now, physical host, maintaining the physical hardwares, security of the space, everything you have to do it when you are using on-prem because it's your own, right? You have to do everything. Installing operating system you have to do, network controls, installing the network card, setting up the network, everything, domain setup, everything you have to do it. Application installation you have to do it, all right? And almost everything you do as on-prem. But a cloud provider has three major services. These are the categories. One is called IaaS, means infrastructure as a service. PaaS means platform as a service. Then SaaS means software as a service. Now, when you hear these words for the first time, you get questions. Don't worry, these three terms we are going to cover in detail. So don't worry about them to understand what is IaaS, PaaS and SaaS. I'm going to cover that. Now, only thing you understand when you take, for example, I take IaaS service, infrastructure as a service. So that means you are taking the infra part. So managing the servers, network, data set, no, all the things are physical work. The infra part, the physical infra part, who will take care, who will be responsible? Microsoft is responsible. When you go for Platform as a service, see, Microsoft is responsible to install the operating system, and they are shared responsibility. Consumer will do certain part and Microsoft will do certain part. If you go with SaaS, then your responsibility is only mostly on the data part. Who should have access to what data you are storing, that you are anyways, you should maintain it as a consumer, right? Why you want to give it to a cloud provider? So anyways, you would have your responsibilities, and rest of the things are mostly managed by the cloud provider or the Microsoft, if you see it in this table. Okay, so all these three terms what I said, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, I'm going to cover, not to worry about it at the moment. Now let's have a look at the cloud models. So there are three different cloud models available. One we call it as a private cloud, public cloud, and hybrid cloud. Now what is this private cloud means to you? So what is a private cloud? So with the word itself, it is pretty clear. The private cloud is only for one company. So I would like to have my private cloud where I would have my servers, my CPUs, my RAM, my databases, everything only for me. It is not shared. The resources are not shared with anybody else. That's called a private cloud. It's a natural evolution from a corporate data center. How you were managing your own data center, your own servers in your office, it is a similar evolution that you would get from a in terms of a cloud used by one company, not shared with others. Very important point. You get greater control for IT company. You have entire control on the infra. You have entire control what hardwares are used. You can choose from. You can maintain. Everything is only for you, right? On the data, everything you have get greater control. But because it's privately made for you, that also comes with a greater cost. So that is a it could be a drawback also because of the cost. Okay, and there is also advantage. It is only for built for you. So that can be hosted either at on-site. For example, I would tell a cloud vendor or a third-party vendor, you host the cloud data center in a given location in my office. Or else we can also show them an off-site data center somewhere else, not in the office location, but for somewhere else in a different location. I'll tell them that is where you build a data center for my company. That is one possibility. Or else I can use a dedicated data center built by third party already. I'll use it. I'll buy that and I'll use that data center for myself. So multiple possibilities are there. So one thing is pretty clear. Private cloud means used by one company, not shared with others. The key word that you should remember is dedicated data center. The next cloud model is public cloud. Now public cloud is just opposite of the private cloud. Built, controlled and maintained by third party cloud provider. It's a public cloud. And anyone can purchase and access resources. So that is the difference between the private cloud and public cloud. Next thing is the hybrid cloud. Now what is a hybrid cloud? A hybrid cloud is a computing setup that combines public and private clouds. Private cloud is built for a single company. Public is anybody can use it. So combination of both of this setup is known as a hybrid cloud, working together as a connected system. Hybrid cloud uses public cloud resources to handle temporary private cloud demand surges. In the private cloud, let's say for some time you need additional resources, then you can go with the hybrid cloud model where you use your private cloud, but when there is a surge, you are also using the public cloud. The best part, what is the benefit of going for this kind of a model? Hybrid cloud enhances security by letting users choose which services to keep public and private, which one you would like to keep it private and which one you would like to go public. So this is the hybrid cloud model. Now I'm back to the learn.microsoft.com, and here let's compare. There's a very nice table to compare and understand the private cloud, public cloud and hybrid cloud. Now the very first thing, how do you remember? Private cloud. So here if you see the public cloud, no capital expenditure to scale up. Capital expenditure means I have to buy everything first. For a private cloud, I need to buy the server, I need to buy all the hardwares, everything, all the capital investment I do, I need to buy the place where I have to keep them. Everything is a expenditure. So in public cloud, no capital expenditure to scale up. For private cloud, hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. Do you look at it? So these 2 points gives you a difference between the private cloud where you put your capital amount to buy them. Here you just buy for use. Whatever you're using, you just pay that. You don't buy, you pay for the use. Okay, that is the difference. Next point. Organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. You have to upgrade the hardware after a couple of years. You have to replace them and put a new one. So all this you are only responsible. But if you go for a public cloud, you don't have to do this. The cloud provider will take care of things. Okay, data is not collected with other organization data. So when you have a private cloud, the advantage is that your data, for example, I'm using a let's say 100 terabyte of a space. Now in that space, I'm using maybe 20 terabyte. Another company might be using another 20. Just imagine a hard drive having a huge space, let's say 100 terabyte. My company would be using, let's say 100 terabyte, 10 terabyte. Another company might be using another 10 terabyte. Another company might be using. So one hardware is shared across multiple companies. You can encrypt your data remains, you can keep your data secure. But the question is the resource, the hardware is being utilized by multiple customers or multiple consumers. But here in the private cloud, your data is not collocated with other it's not kept at with other organization data. You have on your private setup. Okay, that is the difference. So when you have a public, all your data can be kept with other organization data, right? In the same resource, the hard drive is the same, where you have been allocated some space, somebody else has been allocated some space, something like that. In a private, it's your own. Organization have complete control over the resources and security. That is the private cloud. Now look at the public cloud. Application can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. So I can install an application, remove it. So you can do scaling up, scaling down. All this is advantages of a private public cloud. Organization pay only for what they use. That is the main part. Here I have to buy everything. But here if you see, I just pay only for what they use. That is the difference between the public cloud and the private cloud. Organization don't have complete control over the resources and security. That is the kind of a drawback. You don't have complete control. However, your data are secured, but again, you don't have complete control over the over the resources, which resource you will be allocated, and the security. That is the another point that you need to understand when you go for a public cloud. Hybrid cloud provides the most flexibility. You're keeping things which needs to be in the private, you're keeping things which can be kept in the public. So it provides you the most flexibility. Organization determine where to run their applications, which application to run in private, which application to run in public, you can decide. Organization control security, compliance, or legal requirements. You can also control the security compliance because you are controlling which one to be there in the public, which one to be there in the private. So you have better control and flexibility when you go for a hybrid cloud. So after all, a company would decide what is the best for it. Shall it go and approach create its own private cloud, or take a help of a third-party cloud vendor to create their own private cloud? Or they might think, let me use the public cloud completely, doesn't matter. Or sometimes they might think, okay, I will have certain application running in the private cloud and certain application to run it in the public. So that becomes a hybrid kind of a cloud model. Okay, so you can have your own kind of a model selected based on the company's need. So at the end, we understood the basic differences between the public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. There is also one more term called multi-cloud. Multi-cloud means you use multiple public cloud providers. There are many cloud providers. So you are using multiple, 2 or more cloud providers. Then you are into a multi-cloud model. You might use features from different providers or you are migrating from one provider to another provider. So you are still in a multi-cloud model. In a multi-cloud setup, you manage resources and security across multiple public cloud providers. So the simple term to remember, multiple public cloud providers. When you are having multiple public cloud, there are many vendors or the cloud providers who are serving you, then you are in a multi-cloud model. That is the entire crisp of this entire slide. Now, when you have multiple different environments, you can have a private cloud, you can have a hybrid cloud or a public cloud or a multi-cloud environment. Now, to manage and govern, you need a set of technology so that you can manage what's happening, what you are doing, how much cost you are putting on that vendor, on this vendor. So there are many things you would like to manage and govern. Now there is a technology called Azure Arc. So Azure Arc simplifies governance and management by delivering consistent multi-cloud and on-premise management platform. So this is the platform. Remember, at the moment, Azure Arc is the management platform from Microsoft to manage multiple different kinds of cloud environments. It could be a private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, or a multi-cloud environment. Now, let's understand consumption-based model. Now, when you run a business, there are two kinds of expenses. One we call it as CapEx, the other one we call it as OpEx. So what is CapEx? CapEx stands for capital expenditure and OpEx stands for operational expenditure. So what is capital expenditure? I'll tell you. For example, I will buy a car. So when I buy, it is a capital expenditure. I'm putting money to buy my own car. I rent a car. I rent a car. I pay for those many days or durations I'm using. For example, I need a car for 2 days. So I'll pay the amount agreed between both the parties. Okay, for 2 days you pay me X amount and I will pay that. So when I pay it, I use it as an operational expenditure. I use it and done. I don't have to buy the car. I don't have to worry about the maintenance of the car. I don't have to worry about anything, paying the driver, nothing. I just rent the car and pay for the use. So that is capital expenditure where you buy it completely. You put entire money, one-time money and buy it. The operational expenditure you pay when you use it, like renting a car, buying a car, renting a car. Now let's read the definition. Capital expenditure is a one-time upfront cost. This is applicable to anything. For purchasing an asset, for example, you are purchasing a building, you are purchasing a parking lot, you are purchasing a data center or a vehicle. So these things are called CapEx, capital expenditure. You have to put some amount to buy that. OpEx, known as operational expenditure, involves ongoing expenses for services or products, like renting a space. So I don't buy the entire building, I will rent the space. Let's say I'm going to run this for 3 months or 8 months or 1 year or 10 years. I'm just going to keep paying you every month. So that would be known as an operational expenditure. Same thing, I gave an example of the vehicle, renting a vehicle, using a cloud service. Now, why I'm talking about all this? When you're using a cloud service, this is a consumption-based model. That means it is using operational expenditure. It is not a capital expenditure. Cloud computing is a OpEx. Remember this, cloud computing is a OpEx because it follows a consumption-based model. How much you consume, you pay for that. So remember, this is important. The final term that we should remember out of this slide is cloud computing is a OpEx or operational expenditure because you pay as you use, or you can say consumption-based model, pay as you go. The different terms are there. Okay, so out of this entire slide, the important part is cloud computing is a OpEx. Now look at what happens with the traditional data center. Now with traditional data center, there are two major problems or major issues. One is while setting up the data center, you might overestimate or you might underestimate. Now, what is overestimate? For example, you spend more on resources. For example, I need only 10 hard drives, I need only 10 CPUs, but I purchased 15, thinking there could be a high volume. But in reality, you actually need 7. This can happen. You can overestimate. Underestimate. Let's say you thought, no, there won't be a necessity with one CPU and one hard drive, I should be able to maintain my software or application. And there was a peak. So underestimate and overestimate has their own disadvantages. When you overestimate, you spend money. When you underestimate, you suffer in terms of your application becoming slow, it is not stable, it is failing, all these things can happen. Now, fixing them will take time. If you overestimate, then you have to try to utilize them for some other application or something like that. You have to plan. You generally waste time and money. Underestimate, you have to procure more hardwares. Now procurement will take time. It will not happen just whenever you want it. It will take time. It has to be delivered. It has to be set up. That's why the cloud computing has the advantage here. Now in cloud computing, you don't have to worry about it. Anytime you need, you go to the portal and add it. Let's say I need one more VM, I need one more CPU, I need to increase the space of my SQL DB. All this I can do in matter of seconds by going to the portal. That is the benefit of the cloud-based model. Now let's see how the cloud pricing model works. Now when I say cloud, you already know the word delivery of computing services over the internet. Now how it works? So the pricing model works as pay as you go. So what is the meaning of pay as you go? A pricing model where you pay only for the cloud services you use. For this month, I used whatever the resources from the cloud, I just pay for that. Next month, I'm not going to use them. I'm reducing the number of CPUs and things like that. Then I pay less. In October, because of the business demand is more, and I would like to use more CPUs, more resources from the cloud rather, I would say, then I pay more when I use more. Pretty simple. So you can plan your operating cost based on the need and scale as you need. These are the two important terms to remember in pay as you go. Now in simple terms, cloud computing pricing model works more like a renting service. For example, you rent a car. Instead of buying a car, you rent a car, use it and pay for the use. In same way, here you are renting computing power from someone else's data center. So the data center is there by a vendor and you are using how much you need. For example, I have a car business where I have hundreds of cars. I give it for rent. So you take 2 cars if you need. You take 1 car as you need. So based on your need, you rent a car, and once you have used it, you return it back. Same thing happens. The similar pricing model works with the cloud. When you are done using the cloud resources, you give them back. Instead of maintaining CPU, storage, RAMs, etc. in your data center, you rent them like you do it for a car. So that is how the cloud pricing model works. So far, we have completed all these topics. Okay, introduction to Microsoft Azure, introduction to cloud computing, describe the shared responsibility model, define cloud models, describe the consumption-based models. Now let's do a quick knowledge check. Let me click on this. And here let's attempt few questions. What is cloud computing? Delivery of computing services over the internet. I think we have seen this sentence multiple times. So this is the answer. Delivery of storage services, delivery of website, no. Okay. Which cloud model uses some data centers focused on providing cloud services to anyone that wants them? So anyone who wants them means it is a public. Okay. And there's an end. Some data centers that are focused on a single customer. Single customer means it becomes private. So when you combine private and public, the answer is hybrid. So answer should be hybrid. Okay. According to the shared responsibility model, which cloud service type? So there are three service type: IaaS, SaaS, PaaS, right? Places the most responsibility on the customer. So when you compare this, maximum responsibility, there was a table if you remember. So the maximum responsibility is when you take IaaS. That means infrastructure as a service. When you take it, you get maximum. The lowest, what is the lowest? Software as a service, you have lowest responsibility. Platform as a service, medium responsibilities. Okay. So this is the answer. Let me click on submit. You can see all the answers are correct. So this is correct, this is correct, and this is correct. So great job. Let's meet on the next topic. So this topic is fully completed. Describe cloud computing. Let me minimize this. Now the next topic that we are going to start, describe the benefits of using cloud services. Please do watch my next video in the playlist.